Sony FX2 is easily one of the most hated cameras in recent memory. And the crazy part is it's not even been released for just a few days. So why is it most people online wrote it off even before they had one in their hand? Well, I bought one with my own money so I can give you a real filmmaker's perspective to see where this camera stands up, how does it compare to the rest of Sony's lineup such as FX6, FX3, FX30, and is it really that bad? So the biggest criticism I've seen online is people just don't know where this camera fits. To some, it's just an overpriced FX30. To some, it's an FX3 wannabe. To others, it's just an A7 IV copy, but at more money. Well, as somebody who owns all those cameras, I have a slightly different perspective because I use them in real-world productions, which is not the same thing as what you see on paper. So let's compare to each of those cameras. I want to start with the FX3 because I think that's the closest competitor that is out there to an FX2. So FX2 just came out, FX3 has been out for a while, and I know people are looking for the second version or an upgrade to FX3. This is clearly not that. So even though, yes, it does have an A7 IV sensor, it does oversample from 7K to 4K. And as you'll see in the comparison, it's slightly sharper, but it's very close to an FX3 image. So I don't think this camera is an upgrade. I still think the FX3 stands test of time today. But this camera does bring some advantages. That home menu, the big 6 menu that you get when you press the home button, I think it's an incredible thing. But the crazy thing is Sony's promising us an update on FX3, so we're going to get that there. The other thing is the autofocus. So the AI autofocus chip on this is supposed to be really better. And from my initial testing, it is. It's a lot better. But again, in real world scenarios, we've never been in a situation where we were like, that FX3 is not good enough for autofocus when we're using it. So the conclusion ultimately is the FX2 is not better than an FX3. But I don't think Sony wants it to be. That's why they're calling it the FX2 and not some other number. I think this is supposed to be for people who are using their A7 IVs and were having issues with it that they have fixed here, such as the autofocus wasn't good, or they tend to use it in video where the A7 IV can overheat if you're running it for longer sessions. In my testing, this camera doesn't overheat. The cooling system, I think, is even better than the one on FX3. Not that that camera ever overheated for me, but so if you're using your A7 IV in video sessions or you're recording like long conference shoots or podcasts, I think this camera is better. And like I said, you'll get that extra video focus features on top of that. But I don't think, if you're not having issues with your A7 IV, it's working great for you. I don't think this camera is worth it enough that you go sell your A7 IV for this. Now, I think this biggest competition may not be what you're even thinking. It's the FX30. To me, if you're buying this just because your budget is low, you might as well buy an FX30. You get the exact same body as an FX3 and all those features just with an APS-C sensor. And if you're just starting out, I think that could be an advantage. Most movies are still shot in Super 35. And the lenses tend to be cheaper. You get a lot more variety. So your overall barrier to entry is a lot cheaper. And if you're doing corporate video, most clients can't tell a difference because it physically looks the same. And the image is really nice. I think the biggest difference is, again, if you need the viewfinder, this camera is your only option. Biggest issue for me is I wish it was removable. It's just clunky. So when we're doing video where we don't want to use this, because again, I am not shooting video like this and nobody in my team is. So I wish this was removable. I think it's a great addition for photo or people who use it. But again, not removable is the only issue, but it's not a big enough thing that I think it's big of a deal. But so the biggest thing for me, that difference is on this is if you want to do photos, if you want to do any kind of flash photography, this is the camera to get. And that's exactly why I purchased one. So we are a video company. We own 2 FX6s, FX3s, 2 FX30s, and they all have a purpose in the lineup. The FX2s get used in A-roll. And then the FX3s usually are on a gimbal going and getting B-roll. And a lot of time I'm working with a crew of 5 to 6. We're running all these cameras simultaneously. So sometimes when we do want to do a third angle or fourth angle for an interview, it can become harder because we want to either rent another FX6 that adds cost, or we have to go out and pull one of our FX3s and put it here, but that's one less camera going out for B-roll. So to me, the crop on 4K 60 immediately rules this camera out as a B-roll camera for us, That 4K 60 non-crop is very important. But guess what this has? It has a really good image when you're in 23:9:8. So now that when we need a third or fourth angle, this camera will work perfectly for us. We can, and especially since it's a smaller alpha size camera, we can actually put it on one of those like iFootage Nano 2 sliders and get a third, fourth angle that has movement and things like that very easily. But then at the same time, now let's say we're in a shoot where we want to do corporate headshots, we want to do event photography, we can quickly throw a flash or a trigger on here, and we can quickly, now this becomes our photo camera just by switching that button. I think that thing is genius, where the menu and your settings stay the same in each mode, so you can quickly go from stills to video, is incredible. So we won't have two cameras. I could have solved this by buying two other FX3s and two A7 IVs or A7R5s, but those cameras wouldn't be used. Let's say we're not doing stills. I'm not using those cameras on video because they'll overheat. The colors won't match. So this camera fits perfectly where we can hybrid use it. So if you're a shooter who's doing both photos and you're doing stills and video, I think this camera may be the perfect fit for you. Like I said, it's not better than an FX3, but it's an alternate choice, right? And yes, I get it. It seems too far outdated for specs in 2025, and you're getting from Panasonic and other brands who are trying to bring lots of new features in it. But here's the truth. I am camera brand agnostic. I own Panasonic, Arri, Red, Canon, all brands cameras. For me, I'm a business owner. My job is to make best videos for my client, and I will use the right tools. But here's an advantage to Sony, which is why I switched to Sony a few years ago. The industry is kind of very Sony-centric, as in, if you're doing your own productions and that's all you do, well, go buy a Panasonic, go buy a Canon, go buy whatever camera is right for you. But when you're trying to work for other productions, guess what most of them are doing? It's Sony. So if you want to be a freelancer, you want to go fit into other people's productions, nowadays, at least in 2025, it makes sense to own a Sony camera because that's most likely what the production is doing. And my business has found so much success where we've been able to handle and help other agencies where they're coming into town to shoot or they need just production help, where our Sony FX6s and FX3s are constantly working. And I think this will be a nice addition, like I said, where we want to do that third angle, fourth angle, where it doesn't make sense to have another FX6 into play. Plus, like I said, that stills, this is an incredible add-on for us without having to invest in special cameras that sit half the time not getting used. So for me, this is the right camera. It may not be in your production. I think you have to look at it individually and see where it fits for you. If those hybrid features are important to you, if the viewfinder is important to you, then absolutely this is the right fit. I don't think anyone in 2025 should be going out and buying an A7 IV unless you absolutely don't do video. Because the thing is, even though this is the same sensor, the colors coming out of this match way better any of the FX line lineup than an A7 IV. It has that green tint to it. I don't like that footage. It's harder for us to match it. Again, can you do it? Absolutely. It's just more work in post. And that's the thing about Sony cameras. The FX line, they tune the image. So you can go from an FX30 to FX2 to 3, 6, 9, Burano, Venice. Your cameras will match. I can see big Hollywood productions using this as a crash camera, right alongside, just like FX3 has been used. This can also be an incredible on-set photography camera where you need those stills, but you want it to be in the same color pipeline because it can do S-Log3 stills, which is, I don't know any other Sony camera that can do that. So the thing is, again, if you're a freelancer, you want to fit into other productions, you need that hybrid camera, I think this is a better camera. And I think this makes a better buy than an A7 IV in 2025. This does not, I think, discount FX30 or FX3 or FX6 right now. I think it just fits right in. I think it's here to stay. But I completely see where people's criticism may come through. But if you look beyond just the paper specs, I think this camera will clearly fit into a lot of productions. I have no incentive which camera you buy. So hopefully this video has helped you if this camera is right for you, fits in your workflow, or if an FX30 or an FX3 or an FX6 is the perfect camera for your lineup. Or maybe you don't want Sony, you still hate this camera. But the truth is, I didn't just buy one, I bought two. And I wouldn't double down like this for my company if I didn't see this fitting perfectly in my workflow. And I think that color consistency across the pipeline, being able to use it in interviews as the third or fourth cam, being able to switch to that stills mode and being able to use it for our flash photography, I think these cameras are going to be a perfect fit into my workflow. It may be not right for you. And like I said, I buy these cameras with my own money because our clients hire us to do these productions. And the truth be told, I've only had these a few days. I have enough projects booked where I'm going to use these cameras, so they're already paid off. So what do you think? Do you think Sony FX2 is a smart investment or a Sony mistake? Well, put your comments down below. I can't wait to hear it. I know this is going to spark a debate, but I want to know all your perspectives. If you want to follow more and see us using these cameras and more in real-world productions, well, subscribe because I've got a lot more coming.